Here's the number one marriage shift every independent woman needs to make. There was a time in my marriage when I thought I had to be everything, everything for everyone. I made sure I was very educated, very independent, very capable of taking many things on at one time, queen of multitasking, and just by nature. Even to this day, I mean, I've been told that I have a very high pain tolerance. Like I just went for an MRI recently and there's tears in my muscles and God knows whatever else. And my GP said, I'm surprised you're not in more pain. And he referred me to a couple specialists. But I think I'm built a little bit like a ship, an armored tank. And you know what? So is my mother. Maybe that's where I get it from. Like she's still doing so much. She's 85, walking every day, making meals, cleaning the house, et cetera, right? So I've always been a multitasker by nature, and I seem to handle, our kid, like the house, the kids, meals. I mean, my husband has always been very, very good with meals. He's always been very, very helpful. But in terms of organizing, it's like I'm no different than any of the other women that I see as clients right now. The woman doing it all. And like I even see a lot of women even taking over the finances right now. Maybe not that they want to, but they seem to have to do that as well. A lot of couples doing business together, there's been so much more entrepreneurship in the last couple decades that it's very, very common that couples will come to me that are in business together and trying to make that work, which has its own special challenges. But with all this doing that, especially women are doing, I'm not saying men don't do a lot, but the truth is, throughout that, I made a lot of decisions that were meant to be shared and weren't, you know? And I started to believe that, well, the lie that's a part of our culture now that's whispering to every woman, you can do it all. You can do it all. You can do, and I've even said that, like on my podcast, I've said it on my website before that, you can have both. Like I know this very well-known female coach who's multi-millionaire woman who is basically her motto. You can have both if you're a multi-millionaire and you want to hire nannies and cooks and cleaners, then you can have both. But not for Joe couple out there, like, the more traditional couple that are trying to make ends meet. And therefore both need to work in this, especially during this time where inflation, is continually rises and it's really, really hard. But in doing that, I feel like a lot of women have been taught to micromanage now or to become overly controlling in all aspects of the marriage. It's sort of like we've taken on this mantra, if you want it done right, just do it yourself. But it wasn't the strength that was holding, my marriage together. It was really basically separation dressed as self-sacrifice. I and other women, in those ages of 35, I'm going to say, especially from about 35 to 50. And then after 50, we seem to get some grace or some sense knocked into us. But like those times where the children are small, like from zero to, when they become a little bit more independent, like a 15 and a 16-year-old, like you tend to have more time then, but holy, it's a lot. And I mean, I'm seeing just women just burnt out. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about why I is not the goal. You know, we don't want to strive for I, we want to strive for we. And nowadays, we live in a culture that glorifies independence. We are taught that to be successful, we must be self-sufficient, unemotional, and unaffected. It's like we army tank. I mean, in my mother's day, it wasn't so like resilience was definitely bred into that culture, right? I mean, this, from those individuals that have gone through two world wars, for example. I mean, that's tough. That's resilience. But I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about sacrificing for one another in a marriage, which is what they did do back then. This whole idea of self-reliance is a problem here. The troubles and the tribulations that they dealt with in years past made couples, I feel, more united. And maybe part of that is they felt that they didn't have a choice. I mean, I get it. Like, I mean, if women were more dependent on men to bring in a wage into the family, yeah, it wasn't easy to just leave a marriage. But you know what I'm seeing right now? That it's too easy right now to leave a marriage. And that's not good because, marriage isn't two parallel lines running side by side. It's two puzzle pieces, two people that are very odd, different, uniquely shaped, but at the same time, wonderfully shaped, fitting together. That's what couplehood is and should always remain. The fit doesn't happen, you know, despite your differences. It happens because of your differences. That's why you two fit so well together. You need to rely more on each other. It's not a sign of weakness to ask your partner for help. It's not a sign of weakness to say, you know what, I'm really suck in this area of life. Like I'm terrible when it comes to speaking to our children on an emotional level. Can you help me with this? Or, women asking men, like I'm overridden with emotion right now. Help me to see the picture clearly. Help me to see it objectively. Help me to see the truth. What is reality here? Like, what is actually happening here? And drawing more on men's, maybe more leadership roles, quick decision making, and ability to remove the emotion when it needs to be removed, right? And helping each other out that way. Like I used to believe my husband and I had to think the same, act the same, and want the same things in life. And when we didn't, I took that as a huge flaw, a problem in the marriage. Our marriage was a failure. Especially when you see now on social media, like every other marriage seems to be thriving, except ours. I mean, that's what Instagram is telling me anyway. That's what I see in the movies. That's what I see in all the romance novels. But that isn't reality. I know it because I'm a therapist and I deal with it all the time. So I'm allowing, this channel to tell you what reality is so as to help you and help you not make decisions that will affect not only you, your personal life, your husband's life, obviously, but more importantly, your children's lives. And I know that there's a lot of great ways of divorcing out there. I know that. But I'd rather not go there. I want you to fight for your marriage. I want to educate you and I want you to think, well, like in an educated fashion. I want you to see the big picture of what, society is teaching us. It's a very egocentric, selfish society out there right now. I want this. Amazon Prime, I want it delivered not only to my door, I want it delivered tomorrow at my door. Even before recording this, there's a certain spice, a certain Indian spice that I want to use in a recipe this evening. And I wanted to make sure I got it right. And So I searched on Google and sure enough, Amazon pops up, right? And I'm embarrassed to say I am a Prime member. I keep on saying I need to stop that subscription. And, it's just like, okay, paper and pen, note to myself, stop subscription. I don't need things the next day. Anyway, so I find it and it says, yes, yeah. So I need to write things down. Otherwise I forget. I don't need it tomorrow. What actually need today. So I then called a couple, search Indian spice stores near me. And first one that answered said, yeah, we have that. Okay, great. I'll be there. Support local, for goodness sakes. But anyway, back to what I'm talking about. That's what we've been enculturated with is serve yourself, serve your own needs before any others. And if someone is different than you, then this is a problem. I'm not going to get into the politics right now, but that's sure what we're seeing, right? You're not like us, and therefore we want to get rid of you. What does that sound like? So here's what I come to understand, and this is what I want to talk about, is that sameness is, in the sense of a marriage, sameness is not a strength. Being a complement to one another or complementarity is. You see, the way that I see it is when God created man and woman, he didn't make a carbon copy of one another. He didn't form Eve from Adam's head or his foot, but instead from his rib. And there's a lot of significance from that. Like, think about it. Why is rib? Well, to me, I mean, I never heard a theologian explain it like this, but to me, it's a symbol for side by side, side by side. We stand side by side. We stand as one common front. We are equal. We're far from identical, but even our physical parts complement each other. When you think about the marital embrace, the male and female anatomy, we complement one another. It's not about who's better or more capable. We each have our own strengths and our own flaws, but together we're more than a team. We are one, you know? What it's really about is who can give what the other one lacks and done gracefully. So, what does it mean to give from your own strengths? This is not about martyrdom, right? The person who always says yes to everything, the people pleasers, you people out there, I know you, there's a lot of you, and this is not what it's about at all. It's not about giving until you collapse. It's about offering what you already have, what comes naturally to you. It's very easy for you to do this, and your partner is struggling with this. So why not complement one another? Maybe you're the one who keeps calm in a storm, the storm that's happening around your kitchen island at times. While one becomes overbearing and more authoritarian, you're the one that steadies the ship, right? Maybe he's the one that keeps the lights on, like literally and emotionally when you're burnt out. Maybe, yeah, quite often it's women. Like, maybe you bring emotional depth into a conversation when he brings structure. You see how it's not like 50-50? It's never 50-50, but it's 100-100. That's the ratio you have to think about. I give 100, you give 100, and you both give, not equally, but fully. That's what you have to think about. So you're not broken, right? You're being invited. Um, if you've been wondering, why does this feel so hard? You're not broken. You're just being invited to stretch, to soften at times, but especially to trust. And when I say you're stretched, there's times where you're thinking that's not fair. That's that doesn't seem right to me. It's it's hard. I feel like this person is asking a lot or asking often, but they're asking probably because they can't do it themselves. They're not asking to be a pain, but they can't do it. And you have to be quiet and reduce the noise around you in order to hear that cry. Because chances are, they feel weak in asking it. So it might come off as a demand, or it might come off as, criticism or sarcasm. I'm not sure. But the truth is that they're fearing that they can't do it, and therefore they're asking you to. Like marriage is not a transaction between two individuals who are checking boxes on one another, right? It's a covenant. And I've said this often. It's a covenant. It's a sacred exchange of one another. I think it's something like, one that says, I see you and I'll meet you there. I'll give where I'm strong and I'll receive where I need help. And that's a beautiful type of dialogue to happen between two individuals. To try to show your weak side with one another and say, I really suck in this area. I need your help in this area. I've never been good in this area. Is it because of a childhood wound? Perhaps. We don't need to go into the depths of our childhood wounds here. We just need to recognize that it's really, really hard for you to do this and within the marriage. And that's why I need your help. I need your help. Yeah, I need my partner's help in this. I'm very weak in this. You have to see that and you have to tell your partner that. So let me try to be honest with you and tell you I didn't always see this. I didn't. In fact, like that's what I said when I turned 50, it was some people say it's a midlife crisis. To me, it was like a midlife awakening. And maybe that's the dark night of the soul, right? It's not easy to see it because you look back and you go, "Holy man, did I make mistakes? Wow, am I flawed?" And it can be very gloomy and shameful, and you could have tremendous guilt. I know I did. I made a lot of decisions on my own in my marriage, way too many. And I sit with that guilt and that shame, and I prayed about it, asking for forgiveness over and over because I feel it was so wrong, and that's what I'm trying to show you now as my audience, that I don't want you to reach that 50-year-old mark and look back and go, man, big time mess. I messed this up big time. So it's really by the grace of God that, I still have my marriage. And I think, I really wish, I hope, like even like when I say 50, that's like 7 years ago. I remember like 50. It's not like I remember turning 50. It doesn't seem like 7 years ago. And that's scary how fast time is going. So I just pray now that we have many, many, many more years together because I feel it's only going to get better, with this enlightenment. And I think the same can be true for your marriage. If you're struggling, get the help you need. Reach out for professional help. Work with someone who's willing to see you individually as well as the couple. I think that's very important. That's the way the Gottmans do it. And I think it's very important because we can really have blinders on. So you need a coach or a therapist that looks at you and shows you, like takes the blinders away and calls you on things that, you could be quite delusional on. Okay. Yeah. So like, when I look back at the decisions I made on my own in my marriage, like even though some worked, and I'm proud of some of the decisions I made, many also caused me deep disconnection with my partner, with my husband. And there was a time when I vilified my husband for his flaws. And I really regret that now. But the truth is, I was so busy being strong that I forgot what it meant to be together. And I forgot what it meant to do life together. So if I could go back, I would whisper to that younger version of Luella, you weren't meant to do it all on your own. You weren't meant to do it by yourself. You were meant to do it together. So if you're tired, if you feel alone in your marriage, if you feel burnt out, if you feel like you're burning the midnight oil, if you feel like you don't have a jump in your step in the morning, if you feel like you've been holding the weight of, I'm doing this, I'm doing it all, if you feel like that for too long, this is your reminder right here. It's that marriage is not a monument to your independence. That's not what you're going to be known for. You know, uh, the divorced woman who did it all on her own. Like, that's not, I don't think, a statue that we're going to have a lot of reverence for, right? I much rather you be known for the woman that asked for help, the woman that fought for her marriage, the woman that made sacrifices in her marriage for the sake of her children, for the sake of herself, for the sake of the marriage, to see the divine design that I call it, God's divine design. That's what makes Christianity different from most of the other religions. It's the divinity that God brought to the earth that that, that you can be, blessed with that type of divinity as well in your life. I think we see that mostly through nature. It's even in our darkest times, we can step out into nature, and when we see the beauty of it, we're like, there's got to be like a high intelligence here. How does this happen? How is this butterfly so beautiful? How can this rose smell as beautiful as it does? How can that sunset make me drop to my knees? You know, there's something there. So what is it? I call that divinity. And so this is not, that's why I say Christianity is different than other religions, because it's not like you're just admiring some pursuit of morality, like how you're adoring an icon that's, teaches some sort of moral code in life, just to be kind or just to be thoughtful, or yeah, we all know that, but this is something more than that. It's not just a moral code. There's something very, very special, like I say, that you can't ignore. Miracles happen all over, all the time. They just rarely grab the media because the media wants to keep us in a fear-based mode. So, yeah, let yourself lean on that divine design. Let yourself give, give of yourself. Let yourself receive. It's so important. It's not all giving, it's also very important to receive. And I feel like I work with a lot of women who have a hard time receiving because of this independence that we've been, bred into our makeup. It's been programmed in us. So back to that puzzle analogy I gave you. Be genuine. Love your curves. Women with body images. That's why I love the puzzle analogy that I'm very proud I came up with, actually. I just think it's just sums it all up so well, Like, so, like, stop shaving down your edges of that puzzle piece, and start honoring the shape that God gave you, that individual, what makes you special, the puzzle fits. And yeah, if you feel the same way, or if you're sort of starting to feel the same way, please if this is resonating with you, leave me a comment below. I really want to hear from you, especially if you're under 50 and you're struggling and you're trying to make sense of it all. Please let me know. I love to help you through it more. Go to my website, luellayoung.com. I write usually when at least I'm trying to do this. It wasn't always like this, but if you see a YouTube video, chances are I've written a blog post about it. If you like to read about it more, if you like to listen to a longer version of this, I often record a podcast episode. And so you can find that too on the Luella Young Show, newly branded The Luella Young Show. Used to be Mixing Business with Pleasure. So, anyway, if you're ready to rediscover we in your marriage, please subscribe. We're going to do this together, okay? You weren't meant to do it all. You were meant to do it together. Okay. Till next time.